Hey! Hey, tell Phipps he's got company.
One of them looks old enough to be a ruddy general.
Yeah. Except for American generals, some never quite look like generals.
American? Yeah, 3 of them.
Well, I'll be damned. Hey, get this.
As you well know, this camp is under the control of the Wehrmacht. In signing this order, I wish to make it quite clear that they are no longer under Gestapo or SS jurisdiction.
Good friends of yours?
Never seen him in my life before.
Damn cheeky, I call that, then. We don't whistle at strange generals in our army.
Not even if they're in the ATS.
There's a lieutenant colonel and a major with a beard. Third's a captain, and they're all non-combat.
How do you mean, non-combat?
Well, they're not infantry. They sure aren't Air Force. They're not even from the Signal Corps.
So?
Well, so how come they end up in a German camp?
Point taken.
Gentlemen, for a few days you will remain in cells reserved for prisoners in solitary confinement. It'll give you time to rest, reflect, and I hope recover from your recent experiences, whatever may have been their cause. Gottes Willen.
Solitary.
Yeah, they've been worked over pretty well, too.
Poor sods.
Poor sods, as you say.
Hang on.
What?
I'll be damned if he's not laughing and shaking hands.
Who's laughing?
Ullman. He's patting him on the back, patting one of the Americans on the back.
Maybe it's his long-lost cousin or something.
Oh, yeah, sure.
He damn well waited until he was out of sight first. At least until he thought he was.
The next moment they're shaking hands.
Well, if I was you, Jim, I should take a good look at those chaps when they get out of solitary.
That'll take me all of 10 seconds.
The Reich Security Service attaches the highest importance to this, Herr Major, and will be grateful to you.
I shall do what I can, but using my own methods.
You would approve of our methods, Herr Major?
As a matter of practicality, they have in this case proved a failure.
What methods you use is, of course, your own responsibility. But for any success at all, Herr Major, the Reich Security Service will be extremely grateful. At the highest level. Of that I can assure you.
Is it good?
Heil Hitler. Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler.
Where have they been hiding you, Mr. Carrington? They must have all this time been keeping you as a special secret prize for themselves. If they've done you any harm, please accept my deepest apologies. Here, gentlemen, enjoy a good night's rest.
Anyway, it'll be nice for you, having familiar voices around again.
Yeah, you bet. I wonder if any of them comes from Philadelphia. Yeah, it's a funny thing, though, the way they didn't react when I whistled at them.
Well, why should they?
Well, because there isn't a man in the United States Army who doesn't know that tune. You're in the Army now, you're not behind the plow. You son of a bitch, you'll never get rich, you're in the Army now.
Yes, but on the other hand, you know, if I was a lieutenant colonel, say, arriving here for the first time and feeling rather rough, and some silly young shaver leant out of a window and started whistling, "We're the boys of the old brigade," I don't think I'd exactly leap 6 foot in the air.
Okay. I guess you have to be a GI to know what I'm talking about.
Well, you'll have to be our expert then, won't you?
How do you mean?
Well, we always have to be a bit careful when chaps come in for the first time. Well, just for a few days, you know. Unless, of course, we know them, which in a funny way we usually do.
How come you usually know them? You got over 2 million men under arms, haven't you?
And all the same, you do know them as a rule, somehow. We did have a couple of chaps, though. One a Pole, the other some poor, wretched Englishman. I felt sorry for him. Working for Jerry. We soon spotted him, though.
It's kind of a responsibility.
We haven't told them yet that Carrington is one of the 3 Americans. When he escaped from here, we spread it about that he never got out of Germany. To discourage escape attempts, of course.
Well, in a sense, he didn't get away. Say nothing about Carrington for a day or two. Or Ulm. Any information you can pick up on these Americans, let me have it at once.
Is there some mystery about them?
Yes. And the SD wants it cleared. That American, Phipps. He saw them arrive. And I have the impression that he might know them. Try and find out if you can. Of course, there is always rivalry between the Americans and the English. It's a little like Austria and Prussia in the old days. Pride, jealousy. We might be able to use it.
We don't want friction in the camp. On the contrary, we want things to run smoothly.
To a point. Depends on the objective.
Bruns. Bruns. Still on KP, huh?
Herr Carrington.
Well, the food's better, I'll say that.
Oh, thank you, Herr Carrington. And if I may say so, welcome back to Colditz. Herr Carrington, please.
That's very nice of you, Bruns. You got any matches?
Yeah. Why not? We are all human beings. We are Germans, and you are Americans. That's the only difference.
Mr. Carter still here?
Yeah.
Mr. Brent?
Yeah.
Downing?
Yeah, all are here, and all are fine.
And Colonel Preston?
Yes, he's here.
Say hello to him for me, will you?
Yes, of course.
Can't wait for you to meet those men. And Colonel Preston, the SBO.
Thanks. SBO?
Senior British officer. He's one hell of a man. Yeah. The food's better. But it's still the same old Colditz.
That, guard just now. I hope there's more like him.
He's okay.
Well, like he said, they're Germans, we're Americans.
That's how we'd like it. But that isn't how we've got it. We're prisoners, and they're jailers. And no normal person likes to be either. So we pretend a little.
So what's wrong with pretending? At least we got coffee. You know, I never had real coffee in solitary before.
There'll be a reason for it.
You know, I never had company in solitary before.
So we're in solitary, but we're not. Major, when does real life begin?
When somebody gets shot, I guess.
And at least you're not the only American in Colditz now, Herr Leutnant. That.
Hey, have you spoken to them?
Oh, personally, no, but some of the other staff, yes.
Where are they from? You happen to know? I mean, what states are they from? Are there any from Pennsylvania, for example?
That I have absolutely no idea. But I could find out.
Try and do that for me. Oh, by the way, what outfits are they from?
Outfits? You mean which regiment?
No, not regiment exactly, no. I mean, what branch of the service? I saw them arrive, but I couldn't see what insignia they were wearing. Well, perhaps you guys took off their insignia for souvenirs. Well, you know what I mean? In our army, we wear, like, insignia to show what branch of the service we're from.
Oh, yeah, in ours too. Red for artillery, yellow for cavalry and so.
Right. So if it's not a military secret, ask one of your buddies to find out what branch of the service they're from. Because, I'm interested.
Well, we all are.
Okay?
And the way he asked these questions, did it sound like casual interest or more like suspicion?
I would say it was suspicion.
And on such a small point, too. Insignia. Yes. Yes, it's true. Americans are very conscious of birth, of origin. Perhaps it is because they are not quite sure what being an American is supposed to mean.
A Württemberger can tell a Saxon at a glance.
Exactly, but not them. The blood is too mixed. So the American Phipps is asking the same questions that we are.
He said we are all interested.
Good. Perhaps we can help him to find the answers. Thank you, Winter.
Come on out.
Hauptmann Ullmann, please. Ullmann. Private Bruntz. Bruntz. The one who is always talking to the prisoners. I want him transferred immediately. Yes. Tell him he is leaving Colditz. And that he is going to the Brandenburg division at Potsdam. Yes. Tell him also that, that it is no secret. That he should be proud of it. And tell him that his brother has been transferred there already. Or you think it might sound ridiculous? Well, actually, it has already happened. Yes? The Brandenburg have been doing some very odd things lately. Oh, Ullmann, a question. The local newspaper that we allow the prisoners, it is the Dresdner Volksblatt. Thank you, Ullmann, that is all. Yes, thank you. I want you to get me the editor of the Dresdner Volksblatt, please.
Tim? George?
Yeah?
Guess what?
What?
Phil's back.
Phil Carrington?
Yeah, he's in solitary. He's one of the three we saw coming in yesterday.
Good God.
Who's Phil Carrington?
Well, you must have heard us talk about him. He's an American, joined up with the RAF and escaped from here years ago. Long before you lot even came into the war.
You know, if he managed to get back to England, there's a chance he might have got in touch with our families.
Well, come off it, Simon. Surely they'd have written to us.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Anyway, that scotches the rumour that he never got away.
What does it?
What on earth do you mean?
Oh, come off it.
What?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Is it true Lieutenant Carrington's back?
Well, we were keeping that as a little surprise for you, but yes, he's back. Not as a lieutenant, as a major, an American major.
What's happening to those men? Are they being roughed up in there?
I give you my word of honor that they are being extremely well treated.
Do you happen to know if Phil Carrington got back to England?
Yes.
So he did escape. He did get away from Germany.
Of course he did.
You said at one time that he didn't, and that that postcard was a fake.
Nonsense, gentlemen. He got clear away. Otherwise, why would he be back in Colditz as an American major? Stands to reason, gentlemen.
Excuse me, please, Captain Downing.
Hello, Brunt.
Tomorrow I am being transferred, so I'm going to ask if I may say a special goodbye to you, okay?
To me?
For me, you are always the #1 officer here. You are in the British Guards. My father in the First War was Sergeant Major in the S02-E09 regiment. Foot Guards.
You're major of the camp?
On the contrary, I'm being transferred to the Brandenburg division at Potsdam.
I say, that's pretty crack stuff.
God knows why they send me. I hope it doesn't reflect on the general state of the Wehrmacht.
That's a specialist division, isn't it?
For training purposes. My older brother is also now there.
Older brother?
He was in the Army Postal Service. He has bad hearing. Well, our father, if he could see us, would be proud. From a slaughterhouse in Chicago to the Brandenburg division at Potsdam. Life changes.
Brunt!
Herr Fels.
Stop talking to the prisoners. You're on duty.
Jawohl, Herr Fels.
What's he guessing about?
As far as I can tell, the German army must be scraping the bottom of the barrel these days. Poor old slogger Brunt. He's being transferred to the Brandenburg division, if you please. It's one of the crack units of the German army.
Wish we could smuggle that little tidbit back to London.
I know a couple of lucky little sucking pigs at the War Office can go and open a damn good bottle of claret at Carlton on the strength of that. Except what? Except I don't really believe him.
He wouldn't make it up.
No, he wouldn't make it up, but
I still don't believe him.
The harder I tried to convince them that Carrington had escaped from Germany, the less they believed me.
Well, it's all very subtle. I can only say I hope that it works.
It may not work, sir, but at least it is worth a try. The energy will come from the British, their pride, their suspicion. And if the Americans let just one name slip, it will all have been worth it. And with luck, the Americans will have to tell their British allies all of the story in order to convince them. And that is precisely what the Reich Security Service wishes to hear.
I would not know about the requirements of the Reich Security Service. That is an SS organization. I'm not privy to its secrets, as perhaps you are, Major.
What is at stake, sir, is no less than the entire relationship between the Third Reich and one of its most important allies. It seems these allies have been conducting secret peace talks with the Americans. The Reich Security Service wishes to know the terms and the names of those involved, the top names.
As the Herr Major says, it'll cost nothing to try beyond a few tricks.
Meanwhile, until the Americans come out of solitary confinement, they are being treated very well. The better they are treated, the more suspicious will the British become.
Very well, Major.
I have a surprise for you. A gift. American newspapers.
Where did you get those?
The Reich Security Service obtains them in Lisbon.
St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
Unfortunately, most of them are 3 to 4 months old, but some of them are quite recent. I had ordered these especially for you from Berlin.
Why this burst of generosity, Major?
It seems to me that perhaps you Americans, even more than we Europeans, suffer from a sense of homesickness, from a stronger sense of family deprivation, if you will. I thought the sight of these familiar newspapers might help to cheer you up a little.
And in return?
I was hoping that you might see things in better perspective. I realized that it could do you no harm to tell me a little more about the organization which sent you here.
We've already told your Gestapo colleagues all we're going to tell. I think we proved that even to their satisfaction.
And certainly to mine, Major. However, what harm can it do to you or to your country to admit that it was the Office of Strategic Services which sent you here on the mission that finds you here in Colditz?
Where would it get you if it had been the OSS?
That is for us to decide, Colonel, if you will forgive me saying so. It is you who are our prisoners, not we yours.
Not yet.
In your view, Herr Major, in the Gestapo's view anyway, the American OSS is a political espionage unit. One of your colleagues, a type who sports a death's head on his cap, well, he spent a couple of hours last week pounding that into my left jaw. Having made his point, he went on to say that soldiers engaged in political espionage forfeit their rights under the Geneva Convention and end up being shot.
But you're prisoners of the Wehrmacht, Major, on that you have my word as a German officer.
As a German officer?
Yes, as a German officer.
Hey, fellas, take a look. Dick Tracy's got a new character here called the Brain. Look at him.
Must have been a member of the SS.
Lieutenant Phipps?
Yeah?
You know, my feelings were hurt yesterday when you suggested that your 3 fellow countrymen might be getting a bad time from us.
I accepted your word on that.
Thank you. But to put your mind completely at rest, please come with me to the cells where they are. Feel free to see for yourself.
I would, why not? Say hello to Phil for me while you're there.
There will be absolutely no verbal communication. You may see, you may, if you choose, listen, but they're in solitary confinement. And if you try to communicate, you'll find yourself in there with them.
Okay, let's go.
You too, Captain Brent, if you wish, on the same conditions.
Fair enough.
Sorry, Max, you're not doing so hot. All right, let's try another one. How many runs did the Reds score against the Braves in the second series of 1943?
4.
Wrong.
6.
Right.
No, they wouldn't let us talk to them. Ullman was there, and he was watching us like a hawk.
Yeah, but Phil seemed in good shape.
Fine.
Bloody well ought to be. God, meat, rabbit.
Shut. They seem to be holding a seminar in there. A kind of question and answer class using old American newspapers.
Old American newspapers?
Well, where the devil would they get those from?
There's only one place they can get them from. Berlin.
I don't know, there's something funny going on.
Talking of American newspapers, I was looking at an ad. Funnily enough, in the Volksblatt. How well do you know America? If you have lived there, are over 18 and under 60, contact 746-531 at Potsdam.
Let me see that.
Now, wait a minute. Let's see what we've got here. I mean, they've got good food. American newspapers. You said yourself when they arrived there was something odd about their uniform. And now, when they're all supposed to be in solitary, they're not. They're together, holding some sort of question and answer class.
It's almost as if they were mugging up for some sort of exam or something.
Exactly.
Well, there's no point in speculating. Phil will be out in a couple of days. He'll be back with us. They'll be all cleared up. Here you are. You're over 18.
Yes. They'll all three be with us. Living among us.
But that's it. The Brandenburg Division.
The what?
Well, I got hold of the wrong end of the stick the other day, but it is perfectly obvious now. When you read out that advertisement, Potsdam, it's as clear as daylight. You remember that guard, Bruns, the one who's been transferred?
Yes.
You know, the one who was always going on about his happy days back in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he told me that he couldn't understand why he was being transferred to the Brandenburg Division at Potsdam. It's the crack training division for the whole of the German army. And his brother, who's 48, with bad hearing, has already been transferred there from the Army Postal Service. And he used to live in Chicago as well. Now, if you put those two together, add a few hundred more...
In other words, this so-called Brandenburg Division may be collecting together a bunch of German soldiers who at one time or another lived in the States and putting them through some kind of course of special training.
Exactly. Dressing them up in American uniforms and planning to infiltrate them through Allied lines. Well, a group of men like that could create havoc. And a different sort of havoc in a place like this.
With all due respect, Tim, it seems a bit far-fetched to me.
Oh, does it, Mawson? Now, look. Just because you haven't been locked up for here for years like the rest of us, there's no need to think we've lost all touch with reality. We haven't. And you know why we haven't? Because we've used our brains, seized on every scrap of information to piece together a complete picture of what's going on. Not just here in the castle, but in the surrounding countryside, even in the occupied countries. And some of those leads we started out with were pretty far-fetched, believe you me. Now, as far as this Brandenburg business is concerned, let me tell you something. We've got exactly the same thing in our army.
You have?
Yes, in the British Army. Chaps dressed up in German uniforms, doing German drill and giving German orders. Haven't we, Mawson?
Yes, but it's not the same thing. It's not intended for sabotage, but for training and demonstration.
Nevertheless, it does exist.
All right, then supposing...
You'll never tell me that Phil Carrington would let himself in for a caper like that.
Oh, maybe not, Simon, but... Look, just think for a moment. Supposing Phil was captured. Now, you and I know him. He's a fairly resourceful sort of chap. He may have decided to go along with Jerry and then spill the beans at the last minute.
And what about the other two?
Well, I don't know. Sent here to try and find out about codes, contacts with the resistance, plans for a mass breakout.
If so, Phil will tell us when he comes out of solitary.
I can punch a hole right through your theory, Tim. If they are Nazis in disguise, why would they be put in solitary? Why wouldn't they be put straight in here with the rest of us?
Because to work up our sympathy, like with the handcuffs and the bruises. Make us sorry for them.
Make us sorry? It's a funny way to make us sorry for him. Show him lounging around reading American newspapers.
Yeah, but Ullman bawled out the guard for that. He'd ordered all the books and papers taken away before he got there.
Well, I'm going to go and see the SPO.
Gentlemen, I'm grateful to you for your differing points of view, especially as Hauptmann Orman informs me that the three Americans are going to be released from solitary confinement at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I suggest that we form a select committee to welcome them tomorrow. And I must stress that we should have no preconceived ideas about them. Just listen to what they've got to say and then take it from there.
Gentlemen, I have the honor now to present to you your American comrades-in-arms. In one case, at least, introductions will not be necessary. In the case of the others, I will leave you to make them among yourselves.
Hello, Phil. It seems a strange place in which to say welcome, but I'd like to say just hello.
Colonel, if it was any place else but Colditz, I would say it was good to see you again. As it is, it's great. May I introduce you to my commanding officer, Colonel Dodd?
Maximilian Dodd.
Hello, how do you do?
Colonel Preston, this is Captain Nugent.
How do you do, Captain? Well, that's the formal introduction. So, would you have a seat over here? I think I ought to introduce you to your only other fellow countryman here.
Oh?
Phipps, where are you?
Sir.
This is Lieutenant Phipps, United States Air Force.
How do you do, Lieutenant?
How do, sir?
Been here long?
6 weeks, in Colditz, that is.
Oh. Well, then. We'll have to bring you up to date on what's been happening stateside. Though I'm afraid we've been absent for quite some time ourselves.
Thank you, sir.
Phil, why don't you take a seat over?
I do. Phil Carrington. Hi. Hi, Lieutenant.
When you were in England, did you by any chance get to see our families?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I never did get to England. I did start to write your families, but because of my status as an escaped prisoner of war, I was unable to. Red tape. Sorry.
Well, that's odd, because Ullman said you did get to England.
The less Ullman knows what I did, the better.
Can we know?
Sure. You got the card from Switzerland.
Yes, we did. Caused quite a stir.
Well, from there I crossed the border into France at a place called Ivoire, down through the Alpes-Maritimes to Marseille. I finally made it to Spain and to Lisbon, and from Lisbon was flown via the Azores to the United States.
I see. Colonel, I wonder, might we know a little about you? Which front were you captured on?
No front. We just dropped in.
You dropped in? You mean like that, in uniform?
Well, we didn't buy these second-hand in Leipzig, I can tell you that.
You parachuted in?
Parachuted in where?
Or one could say Hungary or Romania. Could just as easily have been one as the other.
Would it be proper for me to ask the nature of your mission?
It would be as proper for you to ask, sir, as it would be for me to refuse to answer. And please call me Max.
Excuse me, sir. What outfit are you with?
We're in the Army, son. Same army you're in.
But you're in the Air Force, aren't you, Phipps?
For your information, sir, Lieutenant Phipps is in the United States Army Air Force. What is this, gentlemen? A court-martial?
Well, Colonel, may we at least know when you were captured?
Colonel, I think that in all fairness, we should fill them in on as much as possible.
Yes, I can understand that.
You see, since you've been here, you've received a very special VIP treatment. May I take it from that this was a very high-level affair?
High-level affair? I suppose you could call it that. Beyond that, sir, I'm afraid I've nothing to say.
Colonel, I wonder if you and I might have a word together on our own, please. Excuse me.
How's it going?
Colonel, I can understand your reticence to a certain degree, but suspicion and distrust are a very real thing in here. The Germans have attempted to plant people on us before. But can't you at least tell us as much of your story as the Germans know themselves already? It is the normal procedure.
That much. No more.
Thank you.
Gentlemen. Okay. 6 weeks ago, the three of us were standing on the tarmac of a United States Army Air Force base at Brindisi, Italy. We were about to board one of your RAF transport planes.
Me, I hadn't done too much flying, but I was always being told it was safer than being in an automobile. So, I'm feeling happy.
We had a deadline to meet. We were due to hit the silk no later than midnight that night over our drop area, somewhere in Central Europe.
It had all been worked out so beautifully back in Washington. I say that because we were just about to take off when all of a sudden the son of a bitching fog came up and sucked us in. Well, we figure maybe a little delay is not going to make that much difference. But it lasted 3 whole days.
That's what cost us the mission.
All dressed up, know where to go. Pistol, belt, holster, 45 automatic, and lipstick and nylons for the ladies.
You're honestly trying to tell us you dropped in, dressed like that, armed with nothing but pistols?
Yes, sir. Because we wanted there to be absolutely no doubt that we were what we are. Soldiers, genuine American soldiers.
Phil, did you volunteer for this?
Yes.
Why?
I was told to.
Why you?
Well, they're running short of men like me with experience in occupied Europe, and with all due respect to what Colonel Dodd has just said, the United States is not yet sophisticated in these areas of operations. And there's another reason I was asked to join this team. And that's classified, sir.
Does classified mean you don't trust us?
We do have an elaborate system of security, you know, lookouts and so on.
I'd assume that, sir.
Well, Colonel, will you please go ahead and tell us as much of your story as you feel free to do?
Finally, 3 days later, we took off. We hit the silk dead on target, 12 kilometers northeast of the chief city of the province.
Which was?
Lollipop is our code name for it. We landed smack in the middle of a field, stomping around in there, loaded down with radio equipment and every other goddamn thing. We were feeling good, though.
Our guy's not here. Check our position.
We expected a contact to take us into the nearest village.
The church was there. At least a church was there. No sign of contacts, though.
There it is. Let's get rid of this stuff.
Anyway, we decided to take a chance and walk right into the village.
Everybody was asleep. That could be just as well for our purpose. The idea being to get a ride into the local garrison town as quietly as possible and lay our cards on the table to the local commander. The town hall seemed our best bet. As it got lighter, the place started to fill up. It turned out to be market day, so pretty soon there were quite a few citizens gawking at us. And the lighter it got, the more incongruous our presence began to feel. Maybe it was because he'd heard the rumpus, or he'd been tipped off from higher up, but the mayor seemed to know the score.
You are Americans?
Yes.
You are welcome. Ain't that ace? Ain't that?
Meanwhile, the locals seemed to have got the idea that our presence meant some kind of liberation, or that the war was over, or maybe it was just on account of it being market day. Anyhow, the next thing we knew, it was garlands of roses. I'm not kidding about that, garlands of roses. He broke out with the schnapps and sent for the dancing girls, literally, and the gypsies. 5 minutes later, half the village must have been in there.
That, as I see it, was the high spot of the whole trip. I was the radio operator, and I felt like sending a message back to the base then and there. When you got Hungarians for enemies, who needs friends? Anyway, right at that minute, she was the best-looking dame I'd ever set eyes on. Oh, yeah.
But the mayor had sent a kid on a bicycle to the local garrison town. And sooner or later, we knew things would start happening. And they did.
Gentlemen, you are prisoners of war. In the name of the Hungarian army, I must ask you to surrender your pistols. So, honor has been satisfied. I do not know what you are doing in Hungary, but I have instruction from my superiors that you are to be treated with respect due to officers captured on the field of battle. Gyere ide. Thank you. Egészségükre. Mulassanak tovább. Come on, gentlemen.
After that, it was more schnapps. Now, it goes without saying that before we started on this mission, we did have some sort of high-level arrangement with somebody. Anyway, this particular officer didn't seem that surprised to see us, so we figure he's been tipped off. Which was what we'd been betting on when we sent him the message in the first place.
Tipped off by somebody high up in the government of, say, Ruritania.
Look, we'd better get this straight once and for all. I can see a lot of doubt in the faces in this room. We've got our problems, Colonel. You've got yours, sir. And frankly, I don't want to know them and wouldn't want to share them. Unless, of course, you invited me to, then that'd be a different kettle of fish.
All right, point taken.
We spent the night in the garrison town. Under guard.
Now it won't work. Now it's too late.
I don't remember asking for your opinion.
We were under guard, but there was talk and drink. The officer said he'd been in touch with his brass, and we were to ship out of there at dawn in one of their trucks for the capital city. It was Budapest. I don't suppose the Gestapo will be grilling anyone on that.
But we were on the way to glory, the success of the mission.
Any of you gentlemen ever been to Budapest? A beautiful city.
We were under a phony arrest. It was a headquarters. Of what, I'm not at liberty to say. Whatever it was, we were in by the side entrance. Quite markedly so, and in my view, that didn't bode well for our success. However, at length we were finally ushered into the Holy of Holies. There was our man, the one on whom the whole success of our mission depended. This was Phil Carrington's cue. I imagine he remembers it even more vividly than I do.
Janos. Philip Carrington. Remember me? Berlin. Remember me?
Of course. You were the correspondent for the...
Collier's. Collier's magazine.
Carrington. But thanks to God. He's a friend, you see. Thanks to God. Because up to this moment, I didn't know if this whole idea wasn't perhaps a trick, a German trick. I've taken a terrible risk as it is.
We'll swap you.
I know you too, I know.
It's my commanding officer, Colonel Dodd.
My
pleasure, sir. And Captain Nugent.
How do you do?
How do you do? And now I'm afraid, all for nothing.
For nothing?
Yes, because I am now completely powerless. I shouldn't have received you at all. In the past 24 hours, everything has changed. Our German allies are about to occupy Budapest. So your presence here is meaningless. It's worse. It can be a tragedy for us. I'm sorry, but I don't know who it is going to be worse for. If anyone finds out, I don't know how I am going to explain your presence here in Budapest. How are you going to explain it if they catch up with you?
Look, we'll face that when we come to it. Can't we at least talk to the man?
I tell you, I have no power. By tomorrow, I may not even be here. Besides, I haven't got time. Huh? Again. The only reason I received you at all was to impress on you the importance of giving away as little as you can about who you came to see or why you have come. Otherwise, everything's lost for us.
Janos, we didn't undertake this mission to betray anybody or give anything away.
Thank you for that promise. But the longer we stay in this room, the more incriminating it becomes for all of us. And harder, your promise to keep. Every second counts. So now, gentlemen, I am sorry. This is a very difficult moment for me, especially as I regard Phil Carrington as my friend.
Now, wait a minute. This is no time to...
I have no power anymore.
Can't you at least get us to the frontier?
Frontier? What frontier? Frontier of Hungary is the German army. Carrington, my friend, it was wonderful to see you. And I hope that we shall meet under more pleasant circumstances after the war, in Paris or New York, yes? But now, my friend...
Where are they taking us?
Where are you taking them? I forget now.
Rakosi Barracks.
Rakosi Barracks, yes, but they are... I am sorry. But you know, it had to work out this way. 3 days ago, it might have been a different story. No one's to blame. But now, it's the fortune of war, isn't it, gentlemen?
That night, the German army occupied Budapest and installed a new regime. We spent the night in detention barracks on the other side of town. Early the next morning, the Gestapo took it over. And us. They also took over our Hungarian friend. He didn't tell them anything. He jumped out of the 5th floor of Gestapo headquarters during interrogation. Then they turned the heat on us. Then they took us to Vienna. They started interrogating us again. They even threatened to shoot us on the grounds that we weren't real soldiers. We were political spies.
It would be interesting to know what was their final interpretation of your mission.
Good question. Their best guess, according to them, mind you, was that we'd been sent to work out terms for a separate peace between us and Hungary, to detach Hungary from our alliance with the Nazis, in return for certain post-war guarantees.
A preposterous assumption, of course.
Of course. Anyway, gentlemen, here we are.
That's quite a story, Colonel. Now, is there any request you have of us? Anything we might be able to do for you?
You're a senior British officer. You represent the British in this camp.
Yes.
I hold the same status. I represent the Americans here.
There are only 4 of you. What's wrong with Colonel Preston representing the lot of us?
What you mean is that we don't trust each other, isn't that it?
All this fuss is over a small technical question, the one raised by Colonel Dodd, and that's all.
It's not all, and you know it.
All right, gentlemen, before this gets out of hand more than it has already, I hope you don't think it discourteous of me, Colonel, but I would like to talk to the British officers on their own.
Simon. Phipps, would you mind coming with us? Please, it would help.
What's happening?
Oh, some of the chaps saw you boning up on old American newspapers, and it made them suspicious.
Well, made us suspicious, too. Don't you think we were asking the same questions? I knew there was a reason for it. I just haven't figured it out.
Yeah, but somebody else saw you eating meat and drinking coffee, and...
That's right, we were.
In solitary?
Right.
Well, that made him think that maybe you were working for the Germans.
Working for the Germans? Are you kidding?
No, wait a minute. Why should the Germans want to drive a wedge between us? I mean, it can't be because they want us to give our secrets to you. If that were the case, they wouldn't have bothered to make us suspicious.
Because they want us to give our information to you.
Yeah.
Huh?
Maybe Downing was right.
What do you mean?
Well, somebody would have to take that information back to the Germans, wouldn't they? How well do you know Colonel Dodd or Captain Nugent?
How well do you know Downing or Brent? They've been in here for a long time. Listen, Simon, Dodd and Nugent are in here because of me.
You're sure it couldn't be either one of them?
I'm 100% sure. None of us are collaborating with the Germans.
Well, he can't be one of our chaps. Well, why the hell couldn't you level with us in the first place?
Now, wait a minute. We're playing right into their hands. Let's not go any further. And don't say anything about this to Colonel Preston. I'm gonna go talk to Colonel Dodd, okay? Colonel, may I speak to you for a moment? No. Leave that on.
Sir, I know we'd all like to hear your view above any other.
Yes, before that, Phipps, you're the only other American here. Have you any doubts?
No, sir. None at all.
Well, neither have I. I believed every single word of it. Right, gentlemen, I don't want any more lingering doubts. Is that understood?
I'm quite happy to go along with your instincts, sir. Thank you for what else says.
Oh, that's hopeless.
Colonel Dodd, on behalf of the
Preston, if I may interrupt you for a moment, sir.
Yes, what is it?
Well, gentlemen, we fully understand why you have certain reservations about accepting us as exactly the way...
we don't.
Accepting us in the total sense. You have your own plans, your own security arrangements, your own secrets. And until you're 100% sure of exactly who we are and what we stand for...
We are.
But to end all doubt, all suspicion, I'm quite sure that you'd all be very happy to take Colonel Preston's word for it. If we were to write down on a piece of paper the names of our Hungarian contacts and our immediate superiors, then that would prove, beyond any question of a doubt, the authenticity of our mission.
Kenzie.
Sir, be so kind as to read this.
No! Stand by, nobody move!
Colonel, the papers,
Stand
please.
still, Brett.
Where is it? Where's the microphone?
Gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption.
Major Mohn, I am requesting an interview with the Commandant at once, please.
What's he talking about? What microphone? What was in that piece of paper?
Thank you, Walter. It says, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political ties which have connected them with another, this, I take it, Colonel, is the American Declaration of Independence from the British.
You may, sir. But not personally.
Well, thanks to what Major Mohn has called his interruption, I feel there can be no doubts left in anyone's mind. There was already. But to use Colonel Dodd's words, these gentlemen are what they say they are, 3 genuine American soldiers. Colonel, I've asked for an interview with the Commandant, as you've heard. I suggest that you accompany me there.
Hey, Philadelphia. How are you?
Well, very good. Commandant, before making a formal complaint against Major Mohn, I would like to establish that Colonel Dodd is afforded the same status as myself, in that he is the senior American officer.